Hello everyone and welcome to the Not Just New Movies podcast, the show where we review a seemingly random film currently not in theaters. And I think for the first time ever, this is a movie that has never been in theaters. My name is Ben Pearson and today we're going to be talking about Tad Stones and Alan Zaslove's 1994 film, The Return of Jafar. Joining me is my regular co-host, Tyler. How's it going, man?
Have you seen the documentary Zaslove's Dream, which is just the making of The Return of Jafar?
I thought you were being serious for a second.
Nope.
Well, if you guys are just joining us for the first time, welcome. You can find all of our previous episodes at notjustnewmovies.com. This is the Not Just New Movies podcast, The Return, a special mini-series in which we only talk about movies with the word return in the title for some random reason. We are celebrating our triumphant return to the podcast after our most recent break. We're now, we used to be a weekly show, then we're a monthly show. We took a big break, but anyway, now we're just sort of returning in these little bursts here and there.
It's a summer show. It's a summer season. And,
summer 2018.
Who knows? We might be back next year. But the demand still pretty low, Ben.
Yeah, I'm guessing 0 people are listening to this episode, because for me, I don't know how you go about this, Tyler. If you're a fan of a show, I generally only listen to episodes where I know what they're talking about. I know the subject matter. If I saw Return of Jafar, I don't know if I would click on this. So if anyone's listening, congratulations. Thank you.
Welcome.
But we're going to talk about this direct-to-DVD, or I guess it was before DVDs were even in there. So direct-to-video sequel to the 1992 movie Aladdin. This came out 2 years later. But before we get into that,
pretty
Tyler,
good turnaround.
People can always leave us a voicemail at 904-469-6566 or email us at notjustnewmovies@gmail.com. I don't think we've had an email in 2 years, something like that.
Yeah, no Nigerian princes are in trouble these days.
Yeah, none of that. So, if you want to clear the cobwebs out of our inbox, then feel free, shoot us an email and we'll read it on the show. Probably.
Then there's a lot of podcasts out there. I don't know how many emails we're going to be getting from listeners these days.
That is very true.
I'm lucky to have people just see the logo, and I think I consider that a win.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's throw it to the T-spot. This is the part of the show right before we actually get into the review of the episode, where I basically just throw the show to you and let you talk about whatever you want.
Well,
so
this little story has something to do with The Return of Jafar, and Ben, you well know that we had to watch this film. Although we are cinephiles, we will sometimes, roll around in the dirt to take in a movie if we can't find it in any other format.
Convenience is key, basically.
Yeah, so we watched this butt cam style on YouTube, but you wouldn't believe, I went into an antique store in the last couple weeks, went to the old VHS section of that antique store, and guess what I found?
No way.
I found 3 copies of The Return of Jafar. No lie. Yeah, so as I was thinking, as I had already watched it, I was like, man, I can't believe it's not like streaming or, it's available to purchase, I guess, if you want to pay like $14 on Amazon to buy, because you can't rent The Return of Jafar, I guess.
Right.
But then I found 3 copies on VHS, so if only we had stuck with that VHS craze, we would have been able to I would have bought you and your grandparents a copy of Return of Jafar.
Well, this is the first Disney direct-to-video animated movie, and it sold, apparently, according to Wikipedia, it sold 15 million units and grossed approximately $300 million worldwide, which seems pretty good for a direct-to-video thing. And I think a little bit about the history of this movie if you want to transition from our T-spot into the actual film. Do you want to just go ahead? Or actually, you want to play the trailer?
Walt Disney Home Video presents the first all-new Disney animated movie produced exclusively for video.
All right, Carpet, let's go!
A new adventure with Aladdin. Disney's The Return of Jafar. Jafar is back, and he's out for revenge.
I'm arranging a little surprise for Aladdin.
Now, Aladdin will have to use all his tricks to face his biggest challenge ever. So join all your favorite characters, Aladdin, Jasmine, Iago, and the Genie.
Did you miss me?
It's Aladdin in Disney's The Return of Jafar.
I love it!
Well, yeah, I mean, the only real thing I know about this is that it was the first direct-to-DVD, or direct-to-video, sorry, push that Disney did. And I guess this started the craze of, hey, let's just make a bunch of sequels and put them direct-to-video, and kids will just buy it, because they're already familiar with the original property. And the people finally found out how we watched Return of Jafar.
Yeah.
And then you can just slap on the same characters on it. Return to Neverland, or Return to England, Pocahontas 2, or Return to, the Mongols, Mulan 2. And it's just like anything goes in the Return to Video section. And it's like, are these canon? Like, and I think this one's as close to canon because it's an intro, or it's the first 5 episodes, I think, of the Aladdin TV series. Did you ever watch this? When it was on the Disney Power Block or whatever it was called?
No, I knew it was on, but I don't think I ever actually tuned in. So wait a second. Are you telling me that they made this and then turned it into 5 episodes of a show?
I think it's reversed.
It was a movie?
Reverse it. So it was supposed to be the beginnings of the TV show, but then they packaged it into a movie.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of what I was reading on Wikipedia, clearly.
Yeah, I saw that
it's not like I was a journalist in the early 90s.
I think one of the first credits, or maybe the first credit that comes up right after the movie ends, is like produced by Walt Disney Television Animation or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I noticed throughout the film that there are a lot of times where it just fades to black after the scenes, and I'm like, this definitely seems like it's throwing to a commercial break. Yeah.
And the animation's a little, it's TV cheap. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, like Thundercats or He-Man or any of that, like, very, very quick animation that you have to produce, like, 50 episodes for a season, as opposed to, like Aladdin, what's gone through the high-def ringer, 4K ringer these days. Like, I don't know if they're going back for the quality of Return of Jafar.
Yeah, and I just looked just now, and it says that the 1992 Aladdin, the theatrical movie, had a $28 million budget, and this one had a budget of between $3.5 and $5 million. So that's
executives love that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's like, this is a business dream, because the Aladdin movie made $504 million at the box office.
Badass.
And this grossed, or not grossed, but I guess, I don't know how you would say it, but made $300 million in video sales.
Yeah.
Like, that's, in terms of this being a knockoff version of the original Aladdin, and really, spoiler alert, not a good movie.
That's not so great.
A pretty decent return on investment, $5 million to make and $300 million, but like, quote unquote, box office, like, video sales. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too shabby. I mean, but as a kid, though, like, just to kind of start talking about the movie itself, like, as a kid, it's like, I don't think you really know, or I didn't know the difference between the quality of Aladdin and the quality of The Return of Jafar. I just figured it's a cartoon and it continues the saga, and I thought it was pretty cool when it first came out. Now watching it, I think kids would still like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I definitely wouldn't have noticed, like, the technical aspects as much when I was a kid. And I think I saw this, like, right around the time it came out. I think I saw it once and just never really thought about it again. But
I may have also said at some point in my life that Return of Jafar was superior to Aladdin.
Oh my God.
I liked it that much.
Wow, that is...
I think it was back when no one would listen to me, so I was like, I'll just come up with some ridiculous notion.
That's like, man, you're getting on your hot take game early.
Hey, I said a long time ago. 20 years ago, maybe.
So,
back when Blank Check came out.
This movie begins with a version of Arabian Nights that is not the real version.
Nope.
And it almost sounds like it's off key.
Yep.
And it sort of really, like, sets the tone for the whole movie to follow. It begins with this character named Abis Mal, who is voiced by Jason Alexander.
He looks
at the
like
height.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah, it does. But this is at the height of Seinfeld. This is like this is prime Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
And he is slumming it in a direct-to-video Disney role.
But is he, Ben? Think of the residuals on this thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I wonder how much Jason Alexander has pulled in.
Let's get him on the phone.
Cumulatively. And here he is, Jason Alexander.
Jerry!
So, Abis Mal is this basically like a bumbling, what would you call him even? Like a treasure hunter?
Thief. Yeah, thief, treasure hunter, that's a good one.
This character, I really thought there was going to be some closure with him, and he's basically introduced just to... he strikes me as like an excuse of a character, right? He's an excuse to get everyone back together from the first movie, right. But they just sort of forget about him. Like, he has nothing to do in this film.
Yeah, he's kind of the distorted Aladdin, where he stumbles upon a lamp, but none of his wishes come true because Jafar clearly has more control over his genie powers than every other genie.
Yeah.
And he's just, exactly. He's like a tool just to move the story along. Because every other character would recognize that that's Jafar's lamp, because they were just, let's say 5 minutes prior or whatever.
Yeah.
Just put him in that lamp, so.
Yeah, and so, I guess the movie really is like Iago's movie, which I was surprised to revisit. I mean, especially with the title being Return of Jafar, it makes it seem like he's going to be a bigger, I guess more of a plot-worthy character, but it's really like the whole, like the morality of this story, the action of the story sort of revolves around Iago, and you sort of pick up with him escaping from the lamp that he was trapped in with Jafar at the end of the first movie, and it's like he's in this abusive relationship with Jafar, and it kind of was the first time as well, in the first movie as well, but it really it struck me, and maybe it's just like the cultural zeitgeist that we're in right now, where people are actually talking about difficult topics and things like that, but it really struck me as like this is like a textbook abusive relationship between these two characters.
It doesn't help that Iago's a coward, but then it also doesn't help that every other human in this story, like, he's a parrot. So it's like giving credence to a bird and just being like, okay, just sit in your cage. But it just, I guess because the bird talks, they actually start to be fooled or bamboozled by him. So in his cowardice, he's like cracking plans and fooling Jasmine and the
Sultan.
The Sultan, I was trying to think of what his title is. And so, I mean, I think you were trying to get kids to be okay with Iago, because I think he's a big part of the TV show. So he's one of the main characters when the TV show starts. So I guess you have to kind of turn him from evil bird to kind of comedic relief.
Yeah.
So I mean, but again, he's a bird, so nobody should really take him too seriously, but they do.
Yeah. So the movie picks up with Aladdin distributing treasure to his own people, and I'm thinking, like, wasn't he put in a position of extreme power at the end of the first movie? Like, couldn't he just enact some policy changes? Like go through the proper channels to make sure that the people of Agrabah are not like begging in the streets, especially considering he came from that life himself. I don't know, it just struck me as odd that he's like playing this Robin Hood kind of role where he's like throwing coins to the people and they're like, oh yay, like shouldn't they be like a little pissed off that they're in these terrible living conditions?
I he's a street rat, but he's also he's living in the lap of luxury now, so they really shouldn't like him that much, but I guess you got to balance it out. You got to throw a few coins every once in a while.
Yeah, so Iago saves him from Abis Mal, who I guess Aladdin had a little confrontation with him, with that character earlier, and Abis Mal comes back to try to get his revenge, and Iago saves him, so that basically just guilts... This whole movie is about guilt. It's about somebody doing something for someone else, and the other person feeling guilty that they owe them one. Yeah, a lot of secrets. So...
Almost like a cave of secret. Oh wait, that's Cave of Wonders.
Cave of Wonders.
Whoops, sorry.
I Cave of Wonder what you're talking about. No, I don't know. That's terrible. Cut that out. No, don't.
Nope, don't do it. I'm too lazy.
So basically, Aladdin is now accepting of Iago. He's trying to. There's this whole.
He does stick his neck out for him, which I appreciate.
Right, and then the genie comes back. It seems like he's had a miserable vacation.
Yeah.
Where he has just been completely lonely and, traveling and seeing all these amazing sights, but he's had nobody to share it with.
Which brings up the
sad thing.
Yeah, it brings up the theory, though, that when does Aladdin exist if Genie... Is he traveling across time and space? Because I think he visits, like, Grauman's Chinese Theater or something like that.
Oh.
Remember how that theory is, like, because Genie makes all those references that Aladdin actually takes place, like, thousands of years in the future?
Yes,
and that
yes.
the magic lamp is just technology.
Yeah, I was thinking that this movie sort of got rid of that, or retconned, or canceled out that theory, because it shows him doing modern things. But I guess you're right. I guess I had never considered time travel as a possibility. But I guess if he was formerly an all-powerful genie, maybe he still retains that power.
And that's why I was so excited to talk about this movie, because there are now 2 genies. But, man, Blue Genie is just... he's weak as hell in this. He gets captured right away, which I guess is justified because you're trying to strike fear in the hearts of children with the fear of Jafar and his genie powers. But, like, nobody really kicks it up a notch until, like, the very, very end. So this whole time I thought maybe there'd be, like, genie battles or some kind of interstellar battlefield or something like that. But
yeah,
there's really
a little bit of that in the song Second Rate, which I wrote down. That's like one of so there are a bunch of songs in this movie, and
there's 5 new ones
are really bad.
Garbage.
That's where it seems the most obvious that the same care and effort did not go into this sequel as it did into the original is because the songs in the first movie are, like, iconic, and all of them are good.
Yeah.
And this one, it's like every single song, it just feels like, man, this is rough. Like,
but just think the residuals that those composers got from the 300 mil that this raked in.
I guess so. But yeah, like, so Second Rate is one where Jafar is singing to the genie and basically saying that he can't hack it anymore. He's, like, calling him a less than virile genie in so many words. But, like, the song, and it's ironic because it's about these 2 magical beings going head to head, basically. But there's no magic in this song at all. It's, like, completely functional, and that's it. Like, I appreciate that it doesn't completely stop the narrative, because it sort of continues the plot forward, and, like, that's what all great musical numbers in musicals should do, right? They should provide either a continuation of the plot or a look into a character that we hadn't seen before, some sort of revealing moment. And because Jafar is a pretty basic character, you're not going to get that. So it's basically the, exposition, but hidden in song form. And it sort of feels like that. It's like, oh man, this is kind of a drag. Like, I was really, I don't know what I was expecting from this movie, but I expected it to be a little bit better than it was. I mean, at least they got back a lot of the main cast from the original film, so that was fine. But, like,
one glaring omission.
Yeah, and you can talk about that, I'm sure.
Oh, well, isn't it Robin Williams said he didn't want his name on the original Aladdin poster or something like that, where he was like, I'll do it, but you don't, like, use me to sell the movie. And Disney ended up using his notoriety. And so he decided not to come back for the second movie. He did come back for third, Prince of Thieves or King of Thieves. But Dan Castellaneta shows up as Genie, the voice of Homer Simpson, which he does a pretty good Genie. He also does it in the Kingdom Hearts series. If you play those games, when Genie shows up, Dan Castellaneta takes over. So he's actually a pretty good Genie. But yeah, there was a Robin Williams controversy where, and again, I'm not a journalist, so maybe I'm getting some of the details wrong. But he's part of his agreement was, like, don't make this all about me. Mm-hmm. And they basically broke that agreement, and so they had to make it right before he came back for the third one. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I think they publicly apologized to him, and that's why he came back for King of Thieves. So
Robin Williams, great guy, we miss him.
Yes, definitely, and maybe no greater spot than in this movie.
Like, I miss him all the time. Like, it's kind of odd where it's like whenever you see him, you go, man, I really miss that guy, and as if you knew him as a friend or like an uncle or something, because you see him in so much stuff. Like, I guess from the 30 years we've been alive, we've seen him our entire lives in something, so he just kind of grows on you. Yeah, so I guess we can blow through the rest of this plot pretty quickly, because it's a short, the ultimate battle at the very, very end, which is what I remember distinctly in my memory. And that's probably why I said it was superior to the first Aladdin, because of this last scene. Because up until this point, I was like, I don't really remember any of this other stuff, but I do remember this last part. But go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. I mean, you sound pretty passionate about it, so tell us.
Yeah, they're trying to destroy Jafar, which it's hard to destroy a genie. And you have to destroy his lamp, and it just so happens that Jafar opens up the earth to its magma core, and and like nobody is passing out from the heat, but battling Jafar, and Genie's there, but Iago's the one that kind of uses his short little claw feet to push the lamp, and so he finally breaks that abusive relationship you mentioned earlier. He finally breaks free of it. And, that's how you destroy a genie. So you destroy his lamp, which I think is incredibly hard to destroy.
And I
just remember it being really, really amazing looking, but it's not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the end of Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
It's just destroying the ring. And it also seems like this rule about destroying the lamp was definitely made up for this movie. Like, they did not have that in mind during the original Aladdin, because otherwise Genie would have destroyed it, because you know that Jafar is just going to sit there and fume for millennia or however long it takes before he tries to, come back and destroy Agrabah or kill Aladdin if he's still alive or whatever it is. So, like,
or the universe.
You would think, and it's not like, I mean, I guess it would have been a little bit more cold-blooded if Genie just smashed the lamp at the end of the first movie, because Iago was inside.
Right.
So it would be like murdering two characters. Yeah. And it also would be like, it's not even a fair fight at that point. You're just like, you're using a magnifying glass on an ant.
You're crushing a bug. I thought the same metaphor.
Yeah. But
Genie's not a killer. That's why he's kind of I don't want to say he's weak, but he's not a killer, so he's not going to use his magic for evil. He's a good genie. That's why if the lamp falls into the wrong hands, Genie can be very, very dangerous. But Jafar is evil to begin with. Although, to give him credit, Jafar, like, that's a pretty awesome wish to, like, of all the wishes, like, to go, I want to be a genie, the one who grants the wishes. It's like, okay, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. But
you have ruined your life, but okay, yeah.
But I did like the flip in the first movie where it's like, oh, well, now you're bound to this lamp. Like, that's like the monkey paw curse, or the Twilight Zone ending of Jafar, and then it's his demise. So it's it's a lot to put on your shoulders there to be a genie.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I love the scene where Abis Mal wishes for the treasure, and then Jafar just transports him there, and he has to blow 2 wishes in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's always the thing that when I was a kid, I was like, man, if I ever find a lamp and get a genie of my own, I'm going to be so careful with how I word the wishes, because that's the nightmare scenario, right? You have to blow 2 of your wishes just because you made a boneheaded move in your first one.
Yeah, there's I don't think I watched the episode, but I remember the promo for an episode of the X-Files where Mulder wishes for world peace, and then he's the only one left on Earth.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa, these wishes are so that, like, they're always trying to trick you. You have to be like, you have to draft your wish first to make sure and think of every single possible scenario where it could be misread.
Yeah, man, your wish would have to be so long, because you'd be like, and this must happen, but not at the expense of this.
How many semicolons are in this thing? And would you free your genie, Ben? That's always been my question, because instead of 3, you only get 2, because the last wish has to be the freeing of the genie.
Yeah, I feel like you would feel like an absolute dick for the entire rest of your life if you just sentenced the genie back to a life of slavery again. I don't think I could do that.
What if it was Jafar?
Man, if it was literally Jafar,
it was literally the Disney incarnation of the character of Jafar. I guess
I guess I would then consider the Aladdin movies to be a retroactive documentary, and I guess I would sentence him to slavery. I don't know. Maybe my final wish would be for him to obliterate himself and never return from any universe.
You would kill a magical creature by a blood of cosmic blood on your hands.
Yeah, I think I would be okay with that if it was the literal Jafar. But
my first wish would be magic carpet. My second wish would be the Agrabah palace, and then my third wish would be Iago carry you away into the deepness of space.
So I liked how this movie sort of set Iago up to become Han Solo at the end of it. Did you notice that? It's like,
nice shot, kid.
Yeah, it's basically like this this morality tale with this character who's really in it for himself. Like, he says it multiple times in the movie, I think.
Right.
And he shows that attitude over anything else. And at a certain point, like whatever, 2/3 of the way through, or maybe a little bit after that, they release him from his duty because, like, they're even, and he flies away, and then he comes swooping in at the last second, and it's like, oh, this is just Han Solo.
This is Han Solo. Yeah, that's a good... I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so the only other thing that I have in my notes is that how quickly all the conflicts are resolved in this movie. Like, there's this whole thing about secrecy between Aladdin and Jasmine, and she's pissed off because he tries to hide the fact that he has Iago from her, and he's not who cares? He does it for 10 minutes or something, like not that long, and it's like he's trying to figure out a way to soften them up to the idea. So it's like, on one, I mean, I guess it's like a decent conflict because you can sort of understand both sides. Like, certainly Jasmine has a point that they shouldn't be keeping any secrets from each other, but on Aladdin's side, it's like he wasn't planning on keeping it a secret forever. He was just trying to figure out the right way to say it.
Right.
So
yeah, he's not a bad guy. She should realize that.
Yeah,
after the events of the entire first movie.
Right, but the conflict is instantly resolved with a song. It's like they're mad at each other for 2 minutes of screen time or something. And then there's another thing where Aladdin is sentenced to death by fake Jasmine.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, you're going to die at dawn. And then all of a sudden it's dawn. And then all of a sudden, and again, it's like almost immediately resolved because Iago comes in and saves the day. But it's like there's no, and I guess that's the trappings of TV, right? Like, you have to do this in between commercial breaks. Like, you can't have things last for 90 minutes or the length of a normal movie. You have to just introduce conflicts and immediately resolve it. But it definitely felt like that's one of those things that made it feel like TV. Aside from like the fades to black that definitely were like, well, this is where a commercial goes.
Yeah. Or the music like peaks where it's like dun dun dun, and then like
this is like a sting. Yeah,
like that wouldn't happen in a movie.
Yeah, do you have anything else to talk about with this?
I don't know. I think I have to back up from my original statement that Return of Jafar is far superior to the original Aladdin. And so in my adult years, Return of Jafar wasn't as epic as I thought it was when I watched it as a kid. But I remember the TV show being okay, so kids will like it.
Yeah, good for kids. One more thing. Aladdin turns down the job of the Sultan's Grand Vizier at the end because he wants to see the world, and then the movie just ends. And I was like, oh, that's it? Like, you really just sort of like hit a wall in production, didn't you? Because they just ended this thing, and you don't even get any closure with the Abis Mal character. And I turned it off and I looked at Wikipedia, and it's like, oh, there's a post-credit scene, and I was like, wait, what? Did you see this?
No.
Yeah, so Abis Mal, he finds Jafar's lamp, and he spends basically the whole movie just doing whatever Jafar says. And then, like I said, he's like this character who serves the function of bringing all of the original characters back together. And Abis Mal, he falls in a tree, and the lamp falls down, and they like chase after the lamp, and like you said, they destroy the lamp, but he's just hanging in the tree. So this post-credits scene comes up where after we haven't seen this character and the movie is completely forgotten about him, you go through the entire credits, and then it comes back where he's survived. He's just hanging there in this tree, and all he says is, "Does this mean I don't get my third wish?" And he's still hanging there, and the movie just ends. So, like,
that's pretty funny.
Presumably, Aladdin and Jasmine are off seeing the world. Sultan is, doing his thing.
Like
Maybe Raja will eat him or something, or maybe he'll just die, and there will be a skeleton hanging from the tree when Aladdin and Jasmine get back. Who knows? But I just thought it was weird that, like, and also the idea of this whole movie being about Iago and his journey toward being, a decent guy, a decent bird.
Yeah.
I would think, and a lot of the movie is Iago scheming to one day become the Grand Vizier, right? He's talking about how
that
he's the advisor,
son of a bitch.
He's the advisor to Aladdin, who is the advisor to the Sultan, and when Aladdin becomes the Sultan, he would presumably become the Grand Vizier. And the movie ends with the Sultan offering Aladdin this job, and Aladdin refusing to take it because he wants to travel the world with Jasmine. So the natural thing to do would be to appoint Iago as the Grand Vizier, but they don't do that. They just leave it. It's like the position is unfilled and the movie ends.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a strange lack of cohesiveness, of conclusion there. I wanted some closure, but didn't get it.
I mean, we'll just assume that when episode 6 of the Aladdin series picks up, they'll have come back from their world travels and things will not have changed at all. And Abis Mal might actually be in the show. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know either.
He's like a recurring character, so maybe he does live. And
maybe he comes back in The King of Thieves, which I think, again, I saw maybe one time and then completely forgot about. So I don't know.
I remember there were McDonald's toys. That's pretty much all I remember about King of Thieves.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it doesn't have return in the title, so we're not talking about it.
I don't care about
it. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of this episode. So, Tyler, where can people find more of your work online?
Well, you've got the NJNM podcast Twitter. You've got the Fivecast, and, of course, the Fivecast and Stuff podcast network. I want to say one of our new shows is Peebo & Co., where we review classic duets between somebody and Peebo Bryson. Most of them are Disney duets, so like Beauty and the Beast, A Whole New World, possibly maybe a Lion King one. I can't remember all the Peebo hits, but
I don't think he had any Lion Kings.
Tune in for that.
Peebo & Co.
Yeah,
excellent.
Peebo & Co. It was going to be called Pico, but I didn't want to confuse you with my review of Pico de Gallo, the tomato mix that you get on like tacos and stuff.
Or it's just like an NBC superfan podcast. It's like the Peacock.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, that's
all right.
it. I don't really have anything going on. Sorry.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you can find my writing at slashfilm.com. You can hear me on Slash Film Daily. If you want to subscribe to that show, you can subscribe to that and this show, Not Just New Movies, on iTunes. We have a functional feed now, finally, after many a month of trying to get that up and running. And you can find all the back episodes of the show at notjustnewmovies.com. So I would encourage you to go and check that stuff out. I think that's pretty much it, Tyler. I don't know when we're going to return again,
next week.
Return. I think it's next week. We think that we're going to be recording more of these, but we really don't know. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? We have some plans in the works, but things are always fluctuating. But anyway, we'll see. Hopefully we'll see you again with another movie in the Not Just New Movies, The Return miniseries. And stay tuned. Hit us up on Twitter at NJNM Podcast, like Tyler mentioned, and you'll be able to find more, announcements about the show and stuff like that.
Use that hashtag.
That Twitter. And yes, hashtag NJNM, I think.
Oh, right? No, Return JNM.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. How could I have forgotten?
Yeah, right.
So we'll leave you with the smooth tones of... what is the guy's name that sings Return of the Mac? Mark Morrison,
Mr.
I
Mac.
think. Yes. So, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.